Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Hello, you're welcome to today's edition of Money Radio on Leadership Podcast. Money Radio brings you the latest development in business and economy cycles of Nigeria and issues of businesses around the world. My name is Innocent Odo, and in today's segment of Money Radio, we are talking about why importation of foreign rice still persists in Nigeria. Now, ahead of the Yuletide season, if you go to the marketplaces, you discover that there's massive importation of foreign rice into the Nigerian landscape. And we're asking, why is it that after all the efforts being made by the federal government to discourage importation of rice, this situation continues to persist? And so I'm in the studio today to do justice to this very important topic. Now, it might be instructive to know that the federal government, especially the Central Bank of Nigeria, in 2015 imposed a ban on foreign exchange to be used for importation of rice. I also followed it with a loan of about 40 billion naira to smallholder farmers, and of course banned the importation of rice through inland borders. It also imposed another tariff of about 70% to imports from the ports, the imports of rice from the ports. And these are some of the great measures being taken by the federal government, especially the Central Bank of Nigeria, to discourage rice importation. But after how many years now, Nigerians still import rice from outside the country, especially if you go to the local markets, you still see brands of foreign rice in our market. So today we're going to look at why this kind of situation persists and the implication it may have on the Nigerian economy. And I'm in the studio today with two gentlemen to do justice to this very important topic. I have to my right, Kes Hammond. Kes, you're welcome to the program.
Thanks.
Also, we have a regular Paul Wadema. Paul, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Now, let me start with you, Paul. I'll just read out some of the measures and efforts being made by the federal government to discourage importation of rice. But those efforts seem not to have made any significant progress, in the sense that we still have massive importation of rice. What exactly is the problem?
Well, I think that we have made progress, but we have not made as much progress as we wanted. Nigeria will consume 6.7 million tons of rice annually. Out of this 6.7 million tons, Nigeria produce home growers, that's rice farmers in Nigeria, they produce 55% of that. More than 55% of that of our rice need, which is quite significant, unlike in the past.
Yes.
But it leaves a gap of about 3 million tons of rice, which now have to be imported. But if we go back to where we were before, or you can say that we are not where we want to be, but we are not where we were before.
Yes.
Because we have made significant progress in rice production. So we have made significant progress, but our population and the demand and the challenges in rice farming in Nigeria has made it very difficult to bridge the gap. But we have made progress. This 3 million tons of rice gap is what is the issue at stake. How do we bridge this gap? How do we stop the total importation of rice? Government tried, when this government came on board in 2015, and like you rightly pointed out, it excluded rice importers from foreign exchange window. Yes. Then government even went as far as closing the borders of Nigeria just to encourage rice farmers. But that action of the government, especially closing the border, also exposed our inability or inadequacy of our farmers to meet the demand and output.
Yes.
That was why within those periods and still now, and up to now, that we have challenges of rice smuggling. many of the rice you are seeing in the market that are presumed to be imported may actually have been smuggled into this country, which now raises the question of how do we police our borders to make sure that rice are not being smuggled in such a way that they beat the intention of government by closing our borders and by banning importation of rice. Basically, that is where I look at it. It's not we have made progress, but we need to do more.
Okay. Kes, let me turn it to you. We have made progress, but we need to do more. In 2019, August 2019, federal government imposed a ban on close its border, rather, and after they reopened the border, many people thought that they may not have served the purpose for which the border was. I mean, the borders were closed in the first. That land borders of Nigeria were closed in the first instance. So, what do we make of that kind of policy? And did he actually achieve the aim of to stop smuggling to neighboring countries, especially the issue of rice now? Did he actually make any impact on that?
There's a popular saying in Nigeria: "Water must find its way." Yes. Mr. Paul just pointed out one issue while he was making a submission, and he said, who knows whether some of the rice we see on the market that we claim to be locally produced may actually be imported into the country.
Smuggled.
Yes, they are smuggled into the country. So the thing is, I commend President Buhari for taking that strong stand so that local farmers would increase their production of rice, because rice is a staple, a major staple of Nigeria. In fact, not just of Nigeria, there's a country just in this West Africa where two of the presidents that have been overthrown and killed, it is alleged that what contributed to their overthrow was rice, the increase in price of rice. Those are people who say or who think that, I know them very well, that no matter what they may eat bread, they may eat cassava, they may eat whatever, but if rice is not on that menu, they will claim I have not eaten it since morning. So that's the lighter part of it. But like we said, water must find its way. Once there is a demand for this product and the supply is short, the price will is going to increase. And once the price is increased, people will have the incentive to go and smuggle it by what means ever. They will smuggle it because they want to meet that demand. And the only way to meet that demand, if there is that policy that there is a ban on the importation of rice, they will do all they can. And who knows, sometimes we have some of our security operators that collude with them to do this. So as to whether that aim was accomplished, I would say partially, because the price or the production of rice actually increased. But if you look at a report from a website called Noema, in 2016, Nigeria imported rice to the tune of 2.5 million metric tons, which was 19% up. In 2017, President Buhari insisted that there must be no importation of rice. That importation dropped by 20% to 2,000. And then in 2018, it dropped further to 1,900. That is 5% less. Sorry, 1.9 million. So in 2019, it still dropped further to 1.4 million metric tons. But then in 2020, it went back by 35%, 35.71% to 1,900 metric. Yeah, 1.9 million metric tons. So the point we're making is, once there is that gap, once the local producers have not been able to meet that demand, people are going to import rice. And that is the problem we have. President Buhari has succeeded in ramping up production of rice by his policy. But people are hungry. I would like to ask you a question, and it's a rhetorical question. Who has lost? In David Ricardo's, that is the famous economist, British economist of the 19th century, who is the author of this theory, comparative advantage, history theory, theory of comparative advantage. You produce what you are better at producing, where you can produce much. How much how much can Nigeria produce per hectare? How many bags of rice can Nigeria produce per hectare compared to other countries? You see that we produce less than other countries, such as the Asian countries and all of that.
We have to take note of the fact that Nigeria right now is the largest producer of rice in Africa.
Yes, I'm coming to
Nigeria
that.
is 14th largest producer of rice in the world
Yes.
right now.
I'm coming to that. The point
And
is,
we're talking about paddy rice.
Yes.
We're not talking about processed rice.
yes, that is why I give President Buhari the credit. But in the if you look at it from the larger perspective, the price of rice as of 2015, 2016 was around 89,000 naira. Now it's around 20 something, 30,000. And we see that as we are approaching the Yuletide season, just like these people in West Africa, if they have not eaten rice in a day, or no matter what they are eating, they will say, I have not eaten since morning. During that Christmas period, especially Christmas Day, there are parties all about. And once rice is not cooked, they say this was not a party. So we expect to see, if we are not meeting that demand, we expect to see that the rice will be smuggled. That is why we see rice from all over the market.
Yeah. And I still remaining with you, Kes. The question of investment, incentive. The government, of course, the CBN is leading the way in encouraging local farmers to wrap up rice production. Of course, in 2015, like I said earlier, about 40 billion naira was given to smallholder farmers by way of loans to encourage them to produce more of local rice. But it appears as if the more incentive they get to produce local rice, we're having even the price of local rice is also skyrocketing in the market. So what sense would it not mean? Would that make rather that we have encouragement for rice production and people are now buying it at a higher price?
Yes, that is the point I was making just now. That Nigerians, or whenever that theory of comparative advantage is that if you block your borders and you stop the importation of that thing you need, and it is outside there, people will bring it in, but they will pay higher. So who benefits ultimately? The farmers, be it whichever country, the farmers are going to benefit because they have higher price, at least in the short run. They have higher prices, they gain more, they make more profit, so they benefit more. The people who lose are the consumers, which
is people like us who eat a lot of rice.
Yes, but I think President Buhari would have succeeded more in ramping up production of rice if it were not for this issue of insecurity. That's another thing. So I don't. The policy is not a bad one. It has had its benefits, but it has also inflicted its own challenges, its own costs.
Okay, Paul. Let me go back to you. The issue of prices of rice skyrocketing in the market. If you have a production output that has increased by 60%, in recent years, which is commendable for any government according to its policies. Now, I'm thinking that the more you invest in rice production, it should be also affordable for the people of Nigeria to be able to buy rice in the market. So why would we have growing output with higher prices for the ordinary people?
Okay, let's look at it this way. Like I told you, Nigeria has increased its rice production to the level like it's the largest producer in Africa, 14th in the world. The challenge we are having in Nigeria produce rice is that of processing. Governments have not invested much in the processing of rice. 80% of rice that we eat in Nigeria, that is from Nigerian farmers, is produced by smallholder processors. Only less than 20% are in the hands of big time processors. Are you getting it? So as a result of it, the cost of processing is very huge for the processors.
Yes.
Are you getting it?
Yes.
So because of that, when they process it, they bring it to the market. You find out that it is not. It's almost as expensive as the foreign rice. Ordinarily, their own ought to be cheaper so that they can be able to beat the competition from the foreign rice.
Yes.
So that's the challenge that we need to tackle. How do we provide processing machine and equipment for the farmers so that the rice produced in Nigeria will be cheaper?
And
Okay.
if the rice, not just that it will be cheaper, Nigeria produced rice is actually more nutritious, much more nutritious. One of the things that actually discourages people from consuming Nigeria produced rice is just that those stones that you have to.
But I think they have a method of destoning them now.
Well,
Anyway, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion on why we still have importation of rice, despite all the efforts being made by the government to stop that. That we won't come back.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are on Money Radio discussing why, despite the efforts of the federal government, we still have rice importation into the country and what we must do to ensure that we curtail it to the barest minimum. I've been in the studio with Kes Hammond and Paul Owadema doing justice to this very important topic. And before we go on, let's take some comments from our listeners and our viewers. Now, one Kemi Adeoye said, please, can you read this?
He said people are hungry.
He said people are hungry.
Banning importation of food.
Okay.
In a country that has no capacity to produce enough food locally for each population itself.
Oh, that's a very, very, it's a lamentation kind of. So people already you can read this for us, Paul.
So most of the locally produced are exported out of the country and processed, then turn it back to us because we lack good equipment of processing it. This
is something I haven't heard about.
Is that true? This is a point. Because Nigeria is exporting paddy rice to Ghana. Nigeria is exporting paddy rice to Europe, to France, to Hungary. We are also exporting paddy rice to Botswana. So it may not be out of point that when they process all this Nigerian rice, they can bring it back as, when paddy are unrefined. So when you refine it, become a whole rice.
Yes.
So he's right to think like that. Even though I may not totally agree with him, but there's a possibility because we export paddy rice. Nigeria is a major exporter of paddy rice right now to some African countries.
Because we lack the processing capacity.
Yes.
Okay.
I told you earlier on that 80% of the rice processors are local, smallholder
Yes.
processors that don't have equipment that can do all this the stoning
Yes.
that we're talking about. Only less than 20% are by big time processors. I don't need to mention that there are some three prominent among them, three prominent processors. And those ones, they are doing very well in terms of processing.
Okay.
But the smallholder processors, they are the majority all over the country.
Yes.
And they are the reason
That's
why
struggling.
the rice from Nigeria are considered to be of poor quality in terms of processing.
Now, this is where we come to investing in rice processing.
Yes.
Yes, we have the potential to, in fact, supply all over the world rice. Now we have a shortfall, just like he said, where we consume local production is about just about 4.9 million metric tons in a year, while we consume nearly 7%.
Yeah.
7 million metric tons
Yes,
of rice. You know, so we have a shortfall. The gap is what is encouraging importation. But now we have potential to actually meet that gap, surpass it, and import rice. After we have met our local production, we could actually import rice to processed rice. That's what I'm talking about now, to other parts of the world. What is holding Nigeria back in terms of investing in the process of in processing capacity?
I will say it's just the issue of priority. Priority. The reason I say it's priority is because not that there is not money, but there is not enough money to do that because of wrong priority. Look, the right priority for government should be that people should have enough to eat. In the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the first thing is food.
Yes.
Mhm. Then when you come down, you see things like transportation, where the issue of fuel comes in. That is where Nigeria's money is going to importation of fuel. So if the country had more money to spare, assuming subsidizing fuel were just out of the equation,
Yes.
and the country had more money to spare, these are areas they will be able to invest. And how much will it cost? It won't be up to $1 billion to get good running mills, processing mills, to have this these facilities ready for local use. But right now the country is cash strapped, and it's because majorly that issue of fuel subsidy, which the politicians know, but they are not ready to take any stand right now because of fear of public backlash. Yeah.
Okay, okay, Paul. There's one other thing that's he raised an issue very important. We're still talking about the prices. Is there no a way that the Nigerian government can actually subsidize this price so that Nigerians can afford to buy it?
The issue is that Nigerian government, like many African countries, are still treating issue of food as a macro theory, as a terms of that food is necessary, it's a human need.
Yes.
The United Nations and others are now pushing that government should see food as a human right. When governments are being held accountable in terms of provision of food for their citizens as an issue of human rights,
Yes.
that it is the right of a Nigerian to have food, then they will pay more attention to it. Because right now, they have just left it to the forces of demand and supply, which is not supposed to be so. When you make it issue of demand and supply, you are now leaving it to the market. But when you make it a human rights issue, now try to look a way in such a way that government will support investment in rice production, in terms of processing, in terms of growth, in terms of all the value chain. And you're not looking at it basically as just for people to have food, but as a compulsory, as as mandatory for the government to make sure that there is food available for you. Because if your citizens don't have food, you are violating their human rights. Until we begin to make food, access to food, an issue of human rights, our government will not pay attention to it. That said, the private sector, this is an opportunity for them.
Yes.
Some of Nigeria's, three of Nigeria's billionaires, they are investing in this sector. In fact, they are about the less than 20% big time processors. But others can join them so that we can have rice that is very cheap, very refined, very marketable. Nigerians will prefer to eat and even abandon the foreign rice. Let me tell you, if Nigerians have cheap, processed, and quality Nigerian rice, they will not touch the foreign rice because they are already, Nigerians are suspicious of many of these foreign rice in the market.
Yes.
I'm telling you. So what we need is investment in this sector. There's a need for government to encourage investment. If the commercial banks are not ready to give a loan to investors in a single-digit interest rate, maybe central bank can step in. We know that they are already doing enough. It is because of Anchor Borrowers program. That is why we are the largest producer of rice in Africa right now. 55% of rice in Africa, Egypt produces 30%. The rest is just there for the other countries.
Yes.
That is how well we have done. We can do better.
We can do better.
These
we can do
conventional
better.
banks, those people, they're not prepared to lend their money out long term, especially at single-digit interest rates. Those, you don't blame them too because of the rate of inflation, which is per annum is around 17%. So if you lend at a single-digit interest rate and you have 17% inflation, that is a loss. So, like you said, the central bank needs to step in with some of these programs to ramp up production from the stage of production, processing, and then sale. But especially we talked here today about processing, with the poor processing and or lack of facilities to process the rice that we produce is going to make it difficult. That is a lacuna right there, and it's going to make it difficult. So I think the central bank should step in. They have been doing similar things. I think the problem, like we said, the major problem is a lack of money. And it's been, maybe by the time Dangote refinery comes on stream next year, then this government, if the lawmakers do not increase their salary and the executives don't increase their salary, then there will be money to spare to invest in these areas.
And there are some areas that some of the challenges we're facing. The issue of mechanized farming is very important in rice. It's very important, but that's an area we're lacking.
Yes.
They have the issue of a poor infrastructure. You have inefficient harvesting and milling and storage.
Yeah.
So these are the issues militating against our objective, because our intention is to surpass what we already have. We should feed our population properly, produce more that we can actually export to other parts of the world, the rice that other people will enjoy and demand for, so that we can actually use that to get this foreign exchange that we're talking about, which has eluded Nigeria for some time now as a result of the challenges in the economic sector.
Yeah.
So what experts have also said that we need to create specialized rice institute that will take charge of the research, relating to rice from breeding to the process and post-harvest operations.
Fortunately, rice is not one of those products that is easily perishable. Yeah, it lasts for some time. Otherwise, these our bad roads would have been giving another contribution, another discouraging factor to the production of rice. So let's just hope that the government gets enough money to invest in these other areas. President Buhari has actually shown courage. Not just him, the previous President Goodluck Jonathan, he also showed courage in making sure that Nigeria is self-sufficient.
Of course, the government also need to address the issue of insecurity.
Yes.
Because insecurity is also one of the major reasons why we're having rice scarcity of rice or short supply. There are some millers. They don't have enough rice to mill. This is because the farmers are not bringing in enough paddy rice for them to mill.
Yes.
And this is because many of the farming belts or rice belt of Nigeria, they are having all kinds of security challenges. This also needs to be addressed. The farmers should have conducive environment to be able to go to the farm. Then there should be continuous enlightenment on the modern processes of growing and processing rice. This should be a continuous process. Nigerian rice farmers have really done a lot. They have done a lot. If anybody tell you that it is possible some few years ago that Nigeria will be the largest producer in Africa and 14th in the world, many people would doubt it. But we have done it, and we can do better. That is what that's my all we need is more incentive, more support. And then there is also the need for government to boost their confidence by buying up whatever is excess that they produce.
Exactly.
So that it will encourage them to produce as much as possible.
You know that the market is there 100%.
Government is there to take the excess produce that they have.
That's
This
the
will
point.
encourage more people to grow rice.
Yeah, that's a very great point.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. We've been having a great time discussing the issue of rice production in Nigeria and why we must ramp up production in the country in order to meet local demands and, of course, find a way of exporting rice to get foreign exchange for the country and, of course, help the young people to get involved in job creation through rice production. And it's on that note that we come to the end of today's edition of Money Radio. I've been in the studio with Kes Hammond. Kes, thank you so much.
Thanks for
us,
having me today.
Paul, it's always wonderful having you on the program. It's on that note that we'll call it a day on today's edition of Money Radio. We promise to bring a fresh edition to you when next we come. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.